Good evening, everybody. Looks like we have a lot of people here tonight, so I want to get started. Can you hear me? I've got my speaker on. Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. Please take your seats so we can start our meeting. We have a lot of speaker cards, a lot of people here tonight. Thank you all so much for coming. All right, there we go. You can hear me now. All right. First, we'll start our invocation by Officer Jeff Mosley with the West Covina Police Department, and followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. And I have to find my who's going to get to do that tonight, and that will be Councilmember Andrew McIntyre. Please rise.
God, we recognize your presence here tonight, and thank you for the freedom we have to gather as a community in order to discuss important matters that will influence and shape the future of our city. We ask for your grace and your divine blessing this evening as we address these important matters. Lord, we pray that you'll give our Mayor, Shelley Sanderson, Mayor Pro Tem Steve Herford, fellow City Council members Rob Sotelo, Fred Sykes, and Andrew McIntyre the ability to lead our city with integrity, humility, and compassion in accordance with your will. Give them wisdom and guidance as they work diligently to find solutions and to address each of the difficult challenges at hand. Bless each and every person here tonight. Draw us closer together as a community and help us to set the example for other communities around us. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much. Next, we will have our roll call, Madam City Clerk. And before we have our roll call, Mayor Pro Tem Steve Herford is not going to be here tonight. Prayers to him. I did get a message from him that he is in urgent care, so I'm hoping that he's okay. If we get any information on that, Chris, I'd like to know. So he will not be here with us tonight. With that, Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Sanderson.
Here.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Sotelo.
Here.
Councilmember Sykes.
Here.
And the record will reflect that Mayor Pro Tem Steve Herford will not be in attendance.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, any reporting out from closed session, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The record should reflect that the City Council convened this evening for a special meeting with all members present with the exception of Mayor Pro Tem Steve Herford. That prior to recessing the closed session, the item that's listed on the agenda was announced for discussion, which was conference with legal counsel existing litigation. The City Council received a briefing from special counsel in the City Attorney's Office with respect to these matters. That direction was provided to special counsel with respect to this matter, but inasmuch as there is no or was no final action taken concerning these matters, there's nothing further to report. And that was unanimous by all 4 council members pursuant to that direction. That concludes my report from closed session. It's appropriate to continue with the open portion of the meeting at this time.
Thank you so much. Any changes to the agenda, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, there are 2 changes to tonight's agenda I just want to report out. First of all, under City Manager contract, which is under consent calendar, I am requesting the council to consider not approving the 18-month severance, just keeping the contract and the terms of that contract with respect to severance as original. That's within there, and consider the clarification of the agreement of that as being presented. Item 12, which is the Warmington Home appeal, the Warmington Home public hearing, that will be, I'm asking the City Council to move that ahead and forward for consideration to be continued to the, to the meeting of December 17th, 2013.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. City Attorney, can we move that up prior to our presentations, or should we do that after?
You can do that right now if you wish, Madam Mayor. So that,
okay, so I'd like to bring item 12. I need a vote, Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, at this time, Madam Mayor, we request that the City Council open the matter solely for the purpose of entertaining a motion to continue this matter to December 17th, 2013, without further notice. So public hearing will be considered open, and we need a motion to continue the matter.
I'll make a motion that we have matter item number 12, public hearing zone change 13-04 to the meeting of December 17th.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay. And thank you very much for handling that. Any other changes to the agenda, Mr. City Manager?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And at this time, I'll come forward. I have a few presentations. I'm standing up for it. It's so nice to see so many people here. I'm not singing, I promise. I am going to be doing some presentations, always the best part of the meeting. And with that, we have our resolution of commendation. And I'd like to call forward Fire Chief Rick Genovese, who will help me make this introduction for our Fire Captain, David Malika. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Malika? All right, come on down. Come on down. Just like a game show, right?
You have had to serve 18 years in the city. I think 19. I think you need to do one more. Yeah. The City of West Covina City Council is pleased to recognize David for 18 years of your consistent service to our community. And thank you so much. And these are always bittersweet. You know, I'm happy that you're retiring. However, we're not happy that we're losing you. So thank you again so much for being a part of our community.
Okay. Now it's time, Dave. So Dave was hired in 1995, and he can correct me on this story if he wishes afterwards. So Dave comes on in 1995, but shortly prior to that, as I remember the story, since it's 18 years ago, and like I say, you can correct me. So Dave has a history. He had 10 years working for McDonnell Douglas, and he had a good career going and everything else, and he's in a high-rise one day in his cubicle, and he stands out there and looks out the window, and as he's looking out the window, he decides, why am I doing this? And he decides to be a firefighter. So I happened to be on duty one day, and he made an appointment to come and see me back when I was a captain and working out of Station 3. And he came down to chat and find out about a few tips and that on becoming a firefighter. So we chatted for a little while, and I gave him a few tips on what he needs to do in his career path. And then shortly after that, he ends up testing with us, and we end up hiring him. On that day, we gained a very valuable asset. He became a paramedic in 1999. In 2006, he becomes a captain. And I'll tell you, he's just been an exemplary employee the whole career. And if you look in his background, it's always comments about being a team player, always throughout his career able to take on extra duties and such. He's been a mentor, and after he's become a captain, as well as a mentor, he was just that guiding light for a lot of the younger folks that come on to the department. One assistant chief called him the symbol of professionalism. And to that end, we just like to thank you for your excellent service and dedication to your job. Thank you, Dave.
Now, that's why we didn't get any stories about when you're a rookie and how they did things to you or anything, because you were such a great guy, right? And I'd like you to, if you'd like to take this opportunity to introduce or thank people.
No, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you, Mary Sanderson, for giving me this opportunity for this recognition tonight. Council members, thank you. And city employees, I know Susan there pretty well. West Covina was a great city to work for. I enjoyed serving this community, and I'm going to miss it. I'm going to get teary-eyed here. Sorry. It seems pretty strange to be standing up here doing this right now. But Chief Genovese was right. He kind of took me under his wing. And matter of fact, he didn't. I thought he was going to finish the story and say that after a few months that went by, I got a call from him, and he said, "So what's up? What's going on? How's testing going? What are you doing?" Because I hadn't had any real firefighting experience, and he had encouraged me to get out there and to do some things in fire related. But I was busy raising a family and working in McDonnell Douglas, so I hadn't really taken that next step to find something in related. And he basically, let me see, what were his words? "Do I need to come out there and kick your butt and get you going?" And I just knew at that time that he liked me, and he saw potential in me. So thank you for those words. And I guess. And thank you. I'm going to miss all the guys. Thank you guys that have shown up here tonight, and I've made a lot of good friends, and I hope we stay in touch, and I'm sure we will. And my wife, been married 34 years, so she's been by my side this whole time, and Dana's her name over there. And it was difficult going back, making a decision at 34 years old to become a firefighter, working a full-time for Douglas, and having to go back to college and raising kids. And she was right by me the whole time. So thank you. All right, thank you. All right.
I should have been wearing my glasses. We have a resolution of commendation presented to Fire Captain David Malika. Thank you so much for everything. And there's everybody taking photos, so we're going to want to do photos. Thank you so much. And his nose is... Next, we have a presentation tonight, and this is our gun bite back program that we've been working on, and I would like to call forward our police commander, Richard Bell, to help me out with this presentation. Thank you. I'm going to hand the mic over to you.
All right, well, thank you.
Floor is yours.
Okay. Do we face that way? Is it okay if I face this way?
Where would you like to face?
This way.
So, you know what? Would it be best if I was over there?
That's fine.
Okay. So you want me to-
I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, and City staff. My name is Commander Richard Bell. I'm with the West Covina Police Department, and today I'm going to be doing an overview of our gun buyback program. The Mayor and City Council members have expressed interest in providing a gun buyback program event for the residents of West Covina. The goal of our gun buyback event is to increase public safety by reducing unwanted and/or illegal firearms in our community that could be used in the commission of crimes. While the vast majority of our firearms in our community are legally possessed, many of these weapons find their way into the wrong hands as a result of theft. A little history about it. Many agencies across the country have held similar programs to remove unwanted weapons from the streets, and most notably, our partners to the left, LA Police Department. They are the ones who created the program. And since they started, they have collected several thousand guns, countless ammunition, as well as explosives and other contraband during their events. And here at West Covina, we hope to have, on a smaller scale, similar success. The West Covina gun buyback program will take place in the parking lot of City Hall, which is right behind us. It will be held on January 25th between the hours of 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. Guns will be turned in anonymously, and we will accept all firearms, whether they are registered, not registered, illegal. It doesn't matter. No one will be prosecuted for turning in illegal firearms. The gun buyback program is not a sting operation. It is an anonymous process in which individuals can surrender their weapons, no questions asked. Our law enforcement will not be taking pictures. We will not be logging in license numbers. It is simply anonymous. There is no limit to how many firearms citizens can turn in. The citizens will be given gift cards in the amount of $50, and they are subject to availability. Although this event is specifically geared towards West Covina residents, we will accept any firearms from any individual, regardless of residency. Once the guns have been turned in, we will not surrender them back to any citizen. Local advertisement includes press release, website advertisement, the West Covina Discover, Facebook and Nixle will be created. And the fiscal impact to the department, the police department will use $3,500 from a community policing fund, and the cost of personnel will be absorbed by the police department. I believe I passed out a map here, and I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of how this is going to run on Saturday, January 25th, 2014. We will have the vehicles enter in from the west parking lot, and they will be directed down the ramp where they will be met by 2 officers who are experienced in weaponry. At that point, the vehicles will be checked, the guns will be checked, and once they've been rendered safe, the citizen will be directed to a second position where the guns will then be collected. Once the guns are collected, the citizens will be given a gift card, at which point they will exit through the west. If there is any foot traffic, they will be handled accordingly. Do I have any questions?
Any questions of staff, council? No?
Commander
That
Bell?
must have been, oh, wait, we have a question over here.
Yes, I just would like you to clarify, this is completely voluntary by anybody, and the point is, when you said check vehicles, you're not checking the vehicles, you're just checking the firearms coming in, correct?
Absolutely correct, and let me clarify that. We are only checking the firearms for safety. We don't want anyone to walk up with a loaded firearm. We think that's unsafe. So basically, we will be checking the firearms only so that we make sure that they are rendered safely, and then we will collect them at that point. And this is an anonymous program. If you bring it, we'll take it. If you don't, then we won't.
Thank you so much, Commander. We really appreciate all that your department has done in implementing this. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Next on our agenda, we have our oral communications, which we have a 5-minute speaking limit, and we have a lot of cards tonight. So with that, I will go ahead and get started and call our first speaker, which is Lola Finley.
Good evening. My name is Lola Finley. There's 2 parts to my question. I'm going to cover half, and what my neighbor Trudy's going to complete the second half. I just wanted to let the council know that we had our second neighborhood watch meeting. It was very successful. Today I want to cover some of the concerns my neighbors had. Number 1 was speeding on Woodgate. My neighbors and I are concerned about the speeding. We're having difficulty pulling out of our driveways and streets, but we are most concerned with the speeding by the park all the way to the top where the road curves. Many of those families have young kids who want to play basketball or just play catch, but they're unable to because of the speed of the vehicles. I have spoke to Shannon Yahtzee or sent an email to Shannon Yahtzee and Chris Chung for suggestions on how we can make that a safer place. We will take the recommendations they gave us. I will take the recommendations they gave us to our neighbors, and hopefully we can solve that issue soon. Another issue we had is on Brookville and Strathmore. We have a location where cars go at all hours, and they're drinking, they're doing drugs, even having sex, and graffiti in that area. Again, my neighbors in that area have young children, so they're really concerned and would like that issue addressed. Again, I spoke with Shannon Yahtzee, and he made some recommendations that we will take seriously, and hopefully together we can implement it. My third issue is low-income housing. I was aware made aware at the meeting that somewhere in West Covina, there's new low-income housing going to be put in, and I want to say right now, loud and clear, that my neighbors, all my neighbors, and including myself, are against any low-income projects going up in any part of West Covina unless they're mandated by law. We were told a few months ago at the City Council meeting by City Manager Chris Chung that we had met our requirements. So my question are, why are we building low-income housing? And we would like to know tonight, if possible, where and why is West Covina building low-cost housing when it's not required? Last, I'd like to say regarding the City Manager Chris Chung's contract, I'm only going by what I read in the paper. Chris, I'd really like to thank you for putting West Covina and its residents first and rejecting the outgoing council's 2% raise and the one-year extension to your contract. It shows your integrity and your faith in yourself and your job, and you have faith in the job and the quality that you're doing for the city of West Covina. And on the other hand, it makes it very clear why residents felt they deserve new representation, and it also shows the juvenile thinking of the process, the staff that made that decision. I also wanted to thank Shannon Yahtzee, Chris Chung, and the Chief of Police for their support on these issues. They all received emails from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll call Trudy Saltmarsh.
Well, I think I really want to start to say that, when I was a teenager, this area was being developed. And it was, I think I'm away from the phone. It was the place to go and live. And when I became an adult, I was able to move here 42 years ago. And it was a wonderful place to live. It's still it can be a wonderful place to live if we can get on top of the crime issues here. I've never seen it this bad before. Always, the West Covina Police Department had a very high reputation, but they're being decimated. So they can't do the same. I know from working in business, if they keep taking away your tools to do a job, you can't do as good a job without those tools. We've had 2 meetings in Gingrich Park. We've had a lot of neighbors turn up. I was surprised at how many, and I was shocked at the number of crimes they talk about that have been happening in our immediate neighborhood. This should not be happening here. Something needs to be done about it, and we are trying everything that we can. We're pushing for the rental requirements, the affordable housing we're not happy about because we know what it brings. We want to be able to do our control, but we also need some help from the council. We need to find those additional officers. We need to do something. Now, we've been meeting, we understood Gingrich Park, you had to have reservations. We have found out since that you don't. You do in Cameron Park, Shadow Oak Park, Cortez Senior Center, Ridge Rider Equestrian Center, but not Gingrich. And the result of that is that people use that park and they don't clean up after themselves. If you're going to have a big party down there, you should be held responsible. And the way you're held responsible is you register your name. And if necessary, put down a small fee to use it. And then it be expected to clean up afterwards. It just isn't right. We also have an issue regarding the Paseo Walkway off Woodgate and the Greenbelt at the top of Jacqueline and Kimberly. We need approximately 6 no trespassing signs to give police and residents an avenue to call when someone is seen that should not be there. If you want to visit the area, Mrs. Finley is willing to show it to you. And that is really what we're here about, is the crime issue. We've got to have something done on this, and we can't do it all ourselves. We need help, and we need help from the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Juan Reynoso.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm here to speak on regarding the city manager's contract. I commend the city manager for actually taking the initiative to make some changes. I do, however, feel that it should be left onto the next council members, the newly elected council members, to make this decision with a little bit more thought than this rush move right now. There's a couple of council members here that just a few weeks ago swore that they were, all for the city and for the betterment of the city and for the residents. We ask that you take, that you remember those words and really consider them. Madam Mayor, you've made some decisions throughout your tenure here, some good, some bad, as expected of every council member. I ask that you too also take all facts into consideration here. To the city manager, what I say is he's obviously confident about his performance. If that is the case, I'm sure that he would have no problem with this being taken into consideration by the newly elected council members. So I do ask that you really consider making the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is David Schwartz.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm here to speak upon the development that's going on on Lark Ellen Avenue, the 500 block of Lark Ellen Avenue. I came to the Planning Commission meeting last month, and looking at our agenda, it looks like it's going to be postponed, the recommendation, until December. But I don't know if I'll make December, so I want to have a couple thoughts on that. I truly believe that it's important for the city of West Covina to grow and to allow business be a friendly, business-friendly city as well as residential. However, I don't believe that we should be building without responsibility. And I think with 45 units going in on Lark Ellen and the 19 units going up on Valinda and Service, it's too much congestion for the area. Unless the city of West Covina is going to show some good faith first by making some improvements on Lark Ellen Avenue and putting 2 lanes back like it used to be, and also consider going to the state of California and asking them to put in some new freeway off-ramps onto Glendora Avenue on eastbound, the 10 freeway. I think that would eliminate a lot of congestion. Vincent Avenue right now cannot handle the traffic that is being built up. And now I understand there's going to be some new construction at the Wicks site, that it's going to be retail as well as residential. It's way overbuilt, and we have to do something first. We cannot allow building to take place without the responsibility. We have to do infrastructure, sewer lines, or whatever it takes that can accommodate the extra amount of people. Especially in the area of Vincent, something has to be done. Glendora Avenue is degenerating. The storefronts are going out of business. The Lakes project is a big bust. And as people have said before, we're having a lot of homeless people in the area that are collecting around there. And they're also hiding during the day along the bike path that goes between Valinda and Lark Ellen. So we cannot continue building without the responsibility. And I can't repeat that more time and time again. We're not doing this. There's just too much going on. And there's just too much congestion. And the quality of life in West Covina is going down. I've lived in the city of West Covina for over 50 years. I've seen the city grow. I've seen how they've taken out off-ramps. There used to be an off-ramp on Glendora Avenue. Lark Ellen Avenue never used to go underneath until the late 60s, mid to late 60s. And we have to, I think you guys have to consider that first before you allow the Planning Commission to agree to let the builders come in at St. Martha's. I do think something has to happen with St. Martha's. It's become an eyesore and a collecting ground for transients. We do have to beautify West Covina, but again, we have to do something to support the increase. I can't stress it enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Lloyd Johnson.
Council members, tonight I would hope you will respect not only the new council members that will lead our city into the future, but show the residents that you are willing to leave the helm with class. We are asking you to hold off on any decision regarding the city manager as far as any compensation or any extension of his contract. I would hope our city manager wouldn't accept any financial compensation from this city council. What this will do is show the new council that he is willing to put his accomplishments on the line and prove he is the right person for the job. As the new council is seated into the new leadership, they are going to have a lot of very hard decisions to make, from getting our city moving in the right direction where we will be financially able to increase our police and fire departments. It will be a tough road moving ahead with all the problems our city has. We don't need another situation where we have a big financial burden hanging over the heads of the new sitting council. So tonight, I would hope this council would go out in class and tell the new council, we will let you decide if we made the correct decision when we made Chris Chung our city manager. If you pass this, what you're saying is that you don't trust the new sitting council to do the right thing. 18 months severance pay is way out of line. If you check all the cities around, none of them do anything like this. We need to start a new era where all the council members are willing to work towards one common goal, getting our city back in good financial status. Council members Sanderson, Council member Sotelo, and Council member McIntyre, go out with class. And don't shove something down the throats of all the residents when you know they are against it. What do you want to be remembered for? Someone who really cared for a great city, or someone who left office without any concern how the residents really care? Council members McIntyre's comment in the paper was way out of line, and trying to have everyone believe that the new sitting council will act like the present council has done in the past, not caring how the residents feel, and not using good judgment when it comes to judging someone on the merits of their performance. The new council will have 5 independent thinkers for the first time in a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is James Toma.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is James Toma. I'm one of the 3 newly elected councilpersons here in West Covina from the elections of 2 weeks ago. I'd like to comment on the city manager's contract and the issues that were proposed on the agenda. I'll be brief because I know other people want to speak on this. This should not be decided today. There's no urgency to this matter. I think it's obvious that it should be something that should be left to the newly elected council and should be decided by 5 members of the city council who were elected by the people of West Covina. The municipal code and the present contract have sufficient protections for the city manager, and there's no need to do this now. Because bringing up this proposal, in the wake of the recent elections, I think to pass something like this now would smack of cronyism. It'd be bad public policy, and it would be a slap in the face of the people of West Covina who just elected a new majority. So I'd ask you to do what I think probably knows the right thing and to hold off on this matter and let the new council look at it when they come into office. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bruce Leinbach.
Yeah, I think good evening, City, Ms. Mayor and council members. I feel that this contract for the city manager should be delayed. It was quite a conclusive election as far as who won and who didn't. And I feel that I think there's about 61. One person called 61 cities, and there's only one city in who he called had if in case of an termination or whatever, they get paid compensate 18 months, and that's what we're proposing, and that's way above the average. And I just don't think it's right. I mean, it looks like you've nominated or selected this man, and you want him to stay in power. And basically, the people coming in, they won the election. I think they should have an input of what we compensate. And you're leaving the city, and you're making the determination of what he should be paid, and the city is stuck with this. So I really feel you should reconsider it and have an extension to deciding his contract. I think that's fair. I don't think what you're doing now is right, and I think it's completely wrong. And I think you should make a change on your position, particularly this position about the 18 months severance or whatever. Why do we have to be the only city probably pays somebody 18 months? Most of them are around 6 or so. And why can't we be more in the norm instead of paying somebody 18 months because nobody else does? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is John Solis.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, and staff. My name is John Solis, and I've been a resident of West Covina for 37 years. I should like to address item 7, the city manager's contract. This issue has been receiving a lot of public attention in the media, and as you can see by the response of the citizens tonight. The issue at hand is what appears as a last-minute proposed change to City Manager Christopher Chung's contract. Why the urgency to approve a modification to an existing contract prior to the review by the 3 new City Council persons? Councilman McIntyre was quoted in today's San Gabriel Tribune. May I quote you? If not, I can paraphrase, but he was stated, and I quote, "I'd say it is protecting the city." That was in reference to the modification. Our forefathers wanted a slow transition and not radical changes. At the end of the day, there is a lot of knowledge in Chris's head. I think it is an asset to the community, end of the quote. So, therefore, why the urgency to modify it now? Why not let the 3 council, the new ones, look at this? As Mr. James Toma alluded, there is protection in the municipal code per section 2-153. In that municipal code, it says the city manager shall not be removed from office during or within a period of 90 days next succeeding any general municipal election. So therefore, he is covered for a period of 90 days. And it gives, during that period of 90 days, it gives the new city council to review his skills and see exactly what Chris can do, Mr. Chung can do. Mr. Chung has been in the office of city manager less than a year. Granting the assertion that Mr. Chung has a lot of knowledge that would be beneficial to the city, that is a plus on his resume. He did not, however, compete against other proven city managers as is usually the process in selecting a new city manager. You might say that Mr. Chung could be a diamond in the rough, someone that has hidden exceptional characteristics and/or future potential, but currently lacks the final touches that would make him truly stand out from the rest of the crowd. The phrase, of course, is metaphorical and relates to the fact that naturally occurring diamonds are quite ordinary at first glance, and that their true worth as jewels is only realized through the cutting and polishing of the process. Therefore, Mr. Chung, do not accept this modification to your contract tonight. Allow the new city council members to work with you and to become aware of your skills and to assist you in overcoming any deficiencies related to your office, therefore the polishing of your skills. Allow yourself time to prove your worth to the city council and to the residents. Prior to any extension of time or modification to the existing contract, I appeal to your sense of integrity and not to the benefits of a buddy system. Be your own man, not someone else's man. Since the holidays are coming, I'll conclude my speech by saying happy holidays to all, and to all good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Mr. Phil Kaufman.
Mayor, council members, staff. First, I'd like to say to Mayor Sanderson, Councilmember Sotelo, Councilmember McIntyre, that I thank you for your service to our community, for the months and the years that you've spent giving of your time and efforts to the city. And I'd like to thank the entire City Council and the City Manager's Office, Police Chief Paul LaCamere, Commander Bell, former Chief Wills, for their efforts and their concern in bringing about the gun buyback program. It was almost a year ago, it was last February, when fellow member of the San Gabriel Valley Progressives, Don Overland, stood at this podium and first brought up the need for such a program in our community. In the months since then, several members of our organization have worked with the city manager, with the police department. We've been here at the council chambers reminding everyone of the need of this program, and we are very happy to know that the program is now a reality and it will be conducted January 2014. Again, on behalf of the San Gabriel Valley Progressives and myself and our community, we thank you for that. As to agenda item 7, I also feel that is something that should be left for the new council to handle. It's not something that we need to rush into. When you rush into something like that, you never know what the ramifications might be. In 1801, Congress passed the Judiciary Act of 1801, creating many new federal judgeships. Literally on his way out of the back door of the White House with his last box of possessions, Second President of the United States, John Adams, appointed 42 Federalists to many of those new judicial positions. That became known as the Midnight Judges. When anti-Federalist Thomas Jefferson became president a short time thereafter, he didn't want to see those 42 Federalists take federal judicial positions, and he instructed his Secretary of State, James Madison, to not finalize the commissions and not forward them to the federal courts so those judges could be seated. One of those judges, William Marbury, knew that there was a remedy for this situation pursuant to the Judiciary Act of 1789, and pursuant to that act, he brought a writ of mandamus to the United States Supreme Court. In reviewing that writ, the U.S. Supreme Court, in an opinion by Chief Justice John Marshall, established for the first time in United States jurisprudence the concept of judicial review, the concept that a court had the right to void a law of Congress. John Adams didn't realize what he was getting into, what monumental change he would bring about to the U.S. judicial system when he appointed those 42 judges on his way out the door. And I ask that you table item 7 and let the new council consider that once they are sworn in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Angie Gillingham.
I'm going to be very brief. I just want to support what others have come before me, just to support the pulling of number 7 and have you all reconsider that and at this time and save it for the council, the new council that will be coming into place in December. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Herb Redholz.
Thank you very much and good evening. Just for clarification, is number 7 being pulled or not? Can I get an answer for that? Is it being pulled, or she just said it was being pulled?
She asked for it to be pulled.
Oh, she asked for it to be pulled?
Correct.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let me just go on then as if it's being acted upon. First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Chung for his willingness to remove the severance package, at least from what's in front of you tonight. I would also like to say that from my perspective, this is not a personal issue. This is strictly a procedural issue. It wouldn't matter, who is sitting on that side or sitting on that side. I believe that this council, as you are leaving office, should take no action on this contract tonight. None. It should be held over for the new council to act upon. As has been stated before by other speakers, there is the 90-day window when the new council is seated and sworn in. And at that point, Mr. Chung has a track record here with the city and with the council, and he has an opportunity to show to the new council members what he can do. It's like starting all over again. And I'm sure he has confidence in himself and his ability to do that. And I think it would be in the best interest of all of us for this council to take the high road and go out on a positive note and not leave a bad taste in the mouth of the residents by taking any action on this tonight. So I would urge no action and let the new council, the new majority, deal with it as they see fit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Carolyn Arndt.
Good evening, Mayor Sanderson, City Council members. Yes. And you know what? I would always like the volume to be turned up because I can't hear and I'm in the front row. I don't know a word that Phil Kaufman said. So turn it up, please. Or I can use my school teacher voice. This month of November 2013 has been a month of vindication for the citizens of West Covina. It was 2 years ago that the City Council entered into a secret contract with Ms. Lee and CGM Development Company to buy the beautiful wooded hillside public land within our civic center and take out the barrier to keep the library area quiet. That medical building was definitely not needed. It was a commercial construction. We drove 2 miles from the library parking lot east on Cameron. No, that's not the right street. West Covina Parkway. South on Sunset. West on Merced and north on Orange. And there were 10 buildings 2 years ago that had rental lease signs surrounding the Queen of the Valley campus that could have been used. The city council did not listen. We went to the library, the county library, and we got the whole listing of all of the checkouts, the number of cards out, how much help for children who were doing homework, the face painting and all the entertainment for the children. Our city council did not listen. This was the citizens talking, and this was after the legacy of the West Covina Improvement Association had begun. We made the decision after we were given the name of an attorney who would work for us pro bono. We're grassroots. And we filed a suit against our city. At about that same time, we began the process of a recall because we felt we deserved better service than we were getting. And now, 2 years later, we have moved to that point. There are some other intervening things that happened. The recall did not work, but it was an educational thing, and it stirred up our people in this city. We have had the kind of government that we deserve because we sit on the sidelines and let big money come in here and tell us what they're going to do. This last election was the perfect example. Like $60,000 almost was spent on those flyers that came 3 a day. Those people are not spending that kind of money for a flyer if they don't expect something in return. They're buying you off. The West Covina Improvement Association is going to continue to function and be a support group for this new city council that is coming up. We want to have town hall meetings. We want the citizens to be able to interact with our city council. We want representation from every part of our city, and we expect that we'll get it. As we move forward, we are very aware of the tremendous amount of problems that this city is going through. Probably if we knew, because we're never allowed to see any documentation or have any figures, we probably are almost to our knees. We have great hope for the new people who are coming on. We wish you a good retirement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Jim Ivins.
My name is Jim Ivins. I live in West Covina. Madam Mayor, Councilman, city staff, interested people, or people trying to keep out of the cold. Yes, I'm commenting about the city manager's item number 7. And don't know the city manager, don't even know the record. I know of no problems with him. I know of no anything else. My problem is we've got a contract that's goes to 2016, which the council agreed on and the city manager agreed on. We follow that. I have a big problem with the 18-month severance and being enacted by, if you do not renew the contract or extend it after it's up, that would cause a termination that would cause that to kick in. Contract's over. That's what you agreed on. Contract's over. Taxpayers here just had the school board a year or two ago hand the superintendent 18 months of severance pay when she was fired without cause. No reason to fire her. In fact, on the campaign literature that they had, they bragged how good the school district had done the last 4 years. Don't know why, but they were given money. This flew through, and a couple of other school districts did the same thing. Some even gave their people a raise. I think the people are catching on that this is kind of a gift of public funds. We talked, it was mentioned in the paper about the council making quick judgments. Contract's up in 2 years. I would warn the new council, don't come in and make rash decisions. You know, you need to get in, you need to get comfortable. Your city manager is the person that guides the council. It's set up with this kind of a council because you're not professional council people. You are citizens representing the people, and you have a city manager to help guide. I don't know what Mr. McIntyre was talking about when he said forefathers, when he referred to what they meant. Russ Nichols wrote my first recommendation letter for a job. I don't know if he's the forefather you were thinking about or the ones that wrote the contract. If it's the ones that wrote the contract, they wrote the contract, and the contract should stand. It was agreed upon, should be honored. We hear about pro athletes and everybody else deciding, oh, I'm 2 years into a 7-year contract that I wanted, and now I don't like it. I want something different. We've got to have a little integrity, and we've got to honor some of the things we do. Excessive penalties for not extending the contract, like I say, it doesn't make sense. The idea, you work from here to here. Everybody's happy, we do a good job, it continues. I would hope the new council, unless there's something grievous, would continue. We don't need to keep changing city managers. That does not work. Just to let them know. And we can be back in here again to talk to the new council regarding that. And that's all I have there. And since there's new council coming in, I have some other things, but I'll save it for them because it's not urgent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Philip Marino.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, members of the city staff, and members of the audience. 4 of the present City Council members have failed to listen to the West Covina taxpayers on many issues, many times. Item 7, the City Manager contract, should be left to the newly elected City Council members. But you don't listen. That's why 2 of you were not elected. No, they weren't getting reelected. They were appointed. On that basis, the recall effort of the citizens of West Covina has finally succeeded. It wasn't about your signs that said fire and police. It was about fiscal mismanagement of the city council members. I don't think that 2 of you, like Councilman Herford or Toohey, could go on a trip to China in the present political situation in this city, like they did with the redevelopment agency. In his first book titled The Making of a President, Theodore White wrote, and I paraphrase, "Many voters did not vote for John Kennedy. They voted against Richard Nixon." If you look at the November 5th city election results, the same thing took place here. Many voters did not vote for the new council member candidates. They voted against the incumbents and their policies. So go ahead and ignore the residents and the taxpayers and what they say at this podium tonight. You've never listened to us anyway. And that failure to listen and act accordingly will be your legacy in the West Covina city history.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Abel Salinas.
Thank you, City Council. I'll be brief. This is my first time speaking before the Council, but I have some important points that I want to make regarding the City Manager contract, item 7, and I'm opposed to that extension for some very basic reasons. Number one is I don't see, again, and it's been echoed already, is the need to rush this agreement, especially after there's this 90-day protection, and I won't describe it. I had plenty of research material, but it's already been said. But I know there's that protection, so it's not like the new City Council is going to come in and remove the existing city manager. But the other point that I want to highlight is there was a cover memo to the extension, the contract extension, that I thought that lacked some clarity on some important points. One is that it talked about the 18-month extension being consistent with many cities. And if there is such a survey, how come that is not attached so that we can see what cities you surveyed? Because in my brief internet search, I didn't find any cities that had an 18-month contract, and in fact, I tried to find some local cities, one being El Monte, and they had a 6-month severance package, City of Bell, which I thought was maybe the poster child city. I figured they're probably got the best contract right now. They had a 3-month salary severance pay during the first year of employment, and after the first year it was only 6 months. I tried Upland, 6 months, Redwood City, I know that's in Northern California, but again, these are the first hits that I got off the internet, so I can't find that. And if there is such a survey, please make that available so that we as citizens can make some more informed choices in support of some of the proposals before the City Council. But another important point, and again, I'm almost done here, is some of the conditions that on the termination for cause. I don't feel like the current proposed contract is as specific as some of the other ones that I found online as to termination for cause. Now, if you terminate for cause, that means no severance pay. The taxpayers are not on the hook. And there's some very good examples out there that I found on the internet that are missing from the proposed contract, and I don't understand why, because this is the very first time I get involved in even reading a contract. But if I found those examples, I do urge the city to do additional research and maybe include some of those clauses. But I'll give you just a couple of examples of termination with cause, which means no severance pay. One is showing up drunk, intoxication to work. Showing up intoxicated at work, whether it's through alcohol or non-prescription, that's in the Redwood City agreement. I don't understand why we wouldn't have that in there. Ours is basically being convicted of a crime or misappropriation of funds. Well, there are other things that can happen where the City Council or the public is interested in taking action and possibly terminating the contract, and those are things like conflict of interest, violations where they violate the law or some city regulation. They're clear things that can also be included in there. But anyway, if you want some more examples, example language, I'll be happy to meet with anyone to provide what I found in my brief research. But the main point here is please provide backup documentation or surveys if those really exist. Again, so that we can be convinced, because when that's not in there, I think it tends to promote some distrust. And I think the whole point is transparency. That seems to be the theme, and we need this information so that we can be believers and really be convinced on your decision. So again, I urge you for delay in the contract approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Iris Delmeter.
I'm going to second the lady who said she couldn't hear. I deliberately sat down in front, and I probably hear 1 out of 5 words. I didn't hear you speak my name. Someone had to tell me. So we may need to do some adjusting with the microphones. I'm here to speak on item 7, the extension for the city manager's contract. And I want to say that I think the citizens of West Covina, and particularly the voters, have clearly shown that they were against the slate. The slate only beat out one person. The others were overwhelmingly not voted for. Those who ran independently were overwhelmingly voted in favor of. This council should make a decision to not take any action on this subject tonight. Not one speaker so far has been in favor of this. And I think you do Mr. Chung a great disservice by wanting to now, at the end of your terms, to extend his. suggesting that maybe he's not capable of getting along with the new council members, or that he's not capable of being the city manager, that he has to be protected. Mr. Chung is a longtime city employee. He doesn't need the protection. He was a qualified candidate. He has done a good job in the time that he's had. And so I think it's a real slap in the face to him to want to basically underhandedly extend his term. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Claudia Gautier.
Hi, good evening, Council, members of the West Covina community. I'm here before you on behalf of Assemblyman Roger Hernandez, a West Covina resident and the Assembly member for the 48th Assembly District. And I have a statement to share with you on his behalf. To the members of the West Covina City Council and the public present tonight, earlier today I read the article that appeared in the San Gabriel Valley Tribune regarding the coded language to increase the salary and other perks to the current city manager. I find it very appalling and disturbing that members of this council are willing to increase perks and salary to a city manager that has neither proven himself nor demonstrated the capacity to lead the city into tomorrow. In a time when the state and local governments, such as the city of West Covina, have reduced public safety personnel, such as police, firefighters, state and municipal employees, the city is struggling in every sense of the word. How is it possible that our very local government is trying to provide an incentive to anyone who has rightfully not earned it? I find it very interesting that our city manager, then redevelopment director, will be receiving an increase to his pay and benefits from the very council member, McIntyre, who has received a 100% recommendation on all redevelopment projects that came before Mr. Chung. I especially find it distasteful that during the 11th hour of the last day for many of these officials present, that they turn their backs on the public's trust and decide to reward a friend who has cost the city millions in legal fees and try to prove a point that was baseless. This sounds like a play out of the Bell City scandal. It is no wonder the residents of West Covina rose up during last election cycle to dismantle whatever mechanism of deceit was left in the council. Residents of West Covina can now look towards a healthy, brighter new future with the hopes of getting rid of a bitter taste in their mouth that has lasted for a number of years. I will continue to fight for our community's right to be heard and prevent any shameful moves, such as the unlawful sale of Civic City Hall property for the purpose to construct a new medical office. Clearly, the memo did not get around to decimate the numerous challenges our community faces and continues to face to this very day. This decision should be made and be left to the new city council, which recently won the election. The people have spoken, and it is time for the new blood to clean up the mess that was left behind, including increasing perks and salary to the new city manager. West Covina resident, Assemblymember Roger Hernandez. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Royal Brown.
Royal Brown, Aroma Drive. Got a couple subjects to talk to you about. First of all, the campaign is over with, but the city sign ordinance that applies to the campaigns is not being obeyed by all the candidates. Specifically, in my neighborhood, on my own street, Debbie Toohey has a sign sitting on the ground at the 1900 block. The kids knocked it down and sitting there. Should be picked up. Debbie Toohey also has a sign down on, several of them, down on Francisquito. Steve Herford is missing tonight. He has a sign at Walnut and Francisquito. These signs need to be off the streets. The city staff used to pick them up after 10 days. I don't know why they're not picking them up now. Oh, another one, a school board candidate besides Debbie, Jimenez. Most of her signs are still out there, but they need to be picked up. They litter the community. The other subject has to do with the conduct of two of you who were not elected in the past. You're appointed. You received a vote of no confidence by the citizens of West Covina at the 1st of November part, the first Tuesday. If you had three other persons here tonight, I would have been asking for your immediate resignations as a result. But that would leave no majority. Frankly, you too have not listened to the voters. You haven't listened to the public. You should have had a motion tonight to take that off. Just the speakers, the great number of them. Nobody spoke for it. You should be having a motion to kill that proposal immediately. We have a very close contest for the third seat. That is going to be resolved by the legal limits of the redoing the review, the provincial ballots and absentee ballots. By the end of the month, that will have occurred by law. So there's no great hurry tonight to reward the city manager. I would hope that you make a motion to table this item to send to the citizens a message that something that isn't being supported, even though it's been sponsored by people on the city council, it be tabled at this time to allow whatever the new city council wants to do and their desires after they're sworn in be followed by the city. So that's what I ask you tonight, is the two of you sponsor a motion to table the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Shirley Buchanan.
Good evening, Mayor Sanderson and council members McIntyre, Sotella, and Sykes. I wanted to let you all know, my husband and I went to the Edwards Theater last night, and we were astounded at the beautiful view of the Edwards Theater now that Wicks has been torn down. It was something to behold, and unfortunately there'll be a 5-story apartment building built, and it will be blocked in the future. Since Mr. Chung's employment contract runs until February 2016, I would like to suggest that item 7, city manager's contract, be held over to a future date after the new council is seated and they have had time to review Mr. Chung's most recent evaluation as it relates to his goals and objectives, and to get a chance to know him, and to be able to learn the many functions of a city council and the many litigation issues that will be carried over from this council. Do the honorable thing that the citizens of West Covina expect you to do in allowing the new council members to negotiate Mr. Chung's contract at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Corey Warshaw.
Madam Mayor, council members, my name's Corey Warshaw, councilman designee or elect, whichever you prefer. First of all, I want to thank our city manager for making the decisions he did about this proposal that's been made by the council. I think actually it takes great courage, and I want to commend him for that. Number two, I think in this election what it was all about was transparency. And I think what you've heard tonight is the city isn't being given transparency on item number 7. Also, as was stated by one other gentleman, it says a survey was taken. And this survey showed that a lot of other cities, or the surveys in the city, had 18 months. Well, I've done some research, and I'm going to read off some cities and how many months severance they give. Beaumont, 0. Monrovia, 0. San Marino, 0. Orange, 1. Brawley, 3. Hawaiian Gardens, 3. Hayward, 3. Norwalk, 3. Artesia, 6. Bellflower, 6. Beverly Hills, 6. Burbank, 6. Calabasas, 6. Maximum of 12, they give 1 extra month for each year. California City, 6. Carpinteria, 6. Cupertino, 6. El Cajon, 6. El Monte, 6. Elk Grove, 6. Maximum 12, also 1 for each additional year. Encinitas, 6. Healdsburg, 6. Irvine, 6. Laguna Niguel dropped from 18 to 6. Lake Forest, 6, plus 1 per every 5 years. Lakeport, 6. Los Altos, 6. Modesto, 6. Monterey Park, 6. Palm Springs, 6. San Carlos, 6. San Clemente, 6. 8 after an additional, or excuse me, 9 after additional 1 year, and 12 max 1 per additional year. San Leandro, 6. Signal Hills, 6. Solana Beach, 6. Upland, 6. Visalia, 6. Walnut, 6. Arcadia, 9. Claremont, 9. Dixon, 9. Indian Wells, 9. La Mesa, 9. Laguna Beach, 9. Lincoln, 9. Morro Bay, 9. Rancho Santa Margarita, 9. Santa Monica, 9. Azusa, 12. Dublin, 12 plus 1 per year, maximum of 18. El Centro, 12. Escondido, 12, but they start out at 9, and then it increases to a maximum of 12. Fullerton, 12. Glendora, 12. Ione, 12. Needles, 12. Palo Alto, 12. Richmond, 12. Santa Ana, 12. 29 Palms, 12. Vista, 12. One city in California has 18 months, Lafayette, up north near Oakland. So it would be interesting to see where this survey was conducted. I'm sure you've looked at it, and so I'm sure you won't have a problem in giving that. The other thing I'd like to say is, in talking about transparency and what may be right and what may be wrong, Madam Mayor, you have often said that your door is open to talk and listen to what the people of West Covina have to say. Well, that's the way this new council is going to be, and I think you need to talk to the new council and tell us what you think of the city manager. To do what you're doing tonight does not promote transparency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Elsie Messman.
Mayor, excuse me, council, staff, and everyone here tonight. My name is Elsie Messman, a resident of West Covina. I've been coming to these meetings off and on probably for the last 7 or 8 years, so I can have a little different opinion to give to you. A Tribune article in December 2012 mentioned that a lawsuit demanding $3 million from the city and job security until retirement was filed by Community Development Commissioner Director Christopher Chung has been rejected by the jury. Despite those facts, later council appointed him as city manager. Why has the council majority been so anxious to please this individual? After all, a lot of the financial problems being experienced by the city were caused by decisions made in the manner in which the redevelopment had been handled, and that department was under control by Mr. Chung. Now it appears that the City Council once again is attempting to keep Mr. Chung happy. Item 7 of tonight's agenda recommends certain changes that will significantly benefit Mr. Chung. While it isn't exactly what he sued for, it is more than the condition of the city should merit. Again, why do they want to worsen the condition of the city they are leaving in financial chaos to keep him happy? It's part of the reason to hinder the new council in its efforts to straighten out the financial disarray and other problems created by the prior council majority. This council should think twice before approving this contract. This situation is starting to look similar to the relationship between the former city council in Bell and their city manager. One can only speculate as what Mr. Chung may know about the current council that they do not want to reveal that would prompt them to make such an action at this time instead of leaving this matter for the new council to address. And I have to add that we had the same auditors Bell had for a number of years. The sad part is the taxpayers of this city, already ravaged by inadequate service and increased debt, would be further burdened by this action. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Irene Fleck.
Good evening. There's lots to listen to tonight, and I hope that you're really hearing it. The one thing I can say about the contract is not only is it inappropriate to do it tonight, but there's no necessity. The original contract was signed December 18th, 2012, so it hasn't even been a year, and it doesn't end until February 29th, 2016. So there's obviously no rush for this. But what I'm really here for is I want to tell you about the library, of course. There's a series of workshops called Covered California, and it's the Affordable Care Act. And the next meeting for this will be this coming Saturday, November 23rd, from 11 to 12. And there will be other meetings throughout the next few months about this health aspect. And if you have questions, the library is the place to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Connie Madot.
On a lighter side, but equally as important to our small cul-de-sac. At the October 1st meeting, a man who was a new resident to our small cul-de-sac stood right here and questioned how I, Connie Madot, was able to get 5 votes toward having street sweeping signs put up on our street, where he said he had gotten many more and that were against it. Well, I contacted the city engineer back on June 11th, well before this man had even moved to our street. And I was told that a letter would be sent to each of the 8 houses on our street. And then the voting would be given, directly to the city, not to me. I didn't get these votes. And we would require 50 plus 1 vote to have the street signs put up. So on September 17th, my husband and I and another neighbor attended the meeting for the
Traffic Committee, and they had approved the street sweeping, and it was then sent to you for your approval. And that's when this man stood up and questioned, how did I get these votes? And so you referred it to this date. And so all that is required is the 5 votes that were already received. And, you know, my husband and I have lived on this street since 1974. And it just got to the point, you know, we pay our taxes, we want the street swept properly, not having the street sweeper come up and down the middle of the street and not sweep the curb at all. And I would just like to have you approve this petition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Mark Smith.
I'm so sorry. I'm a guest, Mark Smith here. I'm from Glendora. We had a situation where something similar to this happened, and how the city council got around it was they bought the city manager a whole life insurance policy, which was technically a platinum credit card. It was a $900,000 policy. The city paid for it. The city could, if Chris Jeffers decided to walk away for whatever reason, he was given $450,000 tax-free. It was a win-win. The city would also retain $450,000 tax-free. This is on top of his 12-month severance pay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That does conclude our oral communication portion of our meeting, and thank you all who have sat through everything. At this time, I usually will go down on any items on the agenda. I wait till everybody has the opportunity. One of the speakers had said that we needed to vote on this now and move it, but we have to let everybody speak first, and then once the item comes up on the agenda, we will make that decision. So I'll go down briefly, if I can read my own writing. I know there was somebody that talked about low-income housing going in, and that speaker was Lola Finley, and maybe staff can get back to her and maybe get some answers, because that's a non-agendized item tonight. Would that, could you do something in that? You're looking at me.
Yes, I'll need to confer with staff to try to find out if there is low-income housing.
Okay,
but
perfect.
I just wanted to briefly indicate that there is state law that requires cities to be able to provide for low-income housing, so we're able to restrict that.
Absolutely.
Against it, unfortunately.
Thank you so much. And then there was another item about reservations at Park at Gingrich Park. I'm looking at Chris Freeland on this one. Maybe you could get back with that speaker, Trudy Saltmarsh, in reference to other parks and reservations, because actually I'm not even familiar on how that works. I just thought they all needed reservations for the, like the cabana type things for parties or whatever. So, and there was a fee for that, but maybe we can get back with her on that. And sorry to the public that may be curious on that item, call Chris, City Hall. Then we'll go down, and one of the things I just wanted to clarify to the people out here is somebody had said, not like the old council who doesn't care. Well, I've served here for a long time and I do care. I love the city and I sure do care. So just wanted to clear that up. Then there was some discussion about the item number 7, which we will pull from the consent for separate discussion. As well, then there was something brought up in reference to the medical building and how the council didn't listen. I just wanted to make clear from my seat, I voted no on the project. I did not support it. I would have supported the performing arts, but that's what I want, and I did try and make that very clear. I may not have made it clear that night, but anyways, I think, did I miss anything that anybody had concerns about? And then we will discuss item 7 a little deeper. Oh, and then there, I'm sorry?
Housing on 500 South
Markella. Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. That item has been continued to December 17th, and that's why at that point in time, the opportunity for the council will be present for for that council to be able to evaluate the item and make
Very good.
determinations. So there will be a full public hearing held on December 17th on that project.
And that will be with, as everybody's requesting, the new council.
That is correct.
However, I was elected, so I'm going to make decisions tonight because I'm elected till December, and I will hope to make good decisions. That's what I would like to do. And one of the speakers said something, and I kind of want to say is that there was a new majority elected. Well, I sure hope it was a new independent council elected, not a new majority, because you don't know. People, what's funny is if you study the history of this council, they change. They change all the time. And some people vote yes, some people vote no against each other. It changes all the time. Sometimes the majority of our votes are actually 5-0. But I just wanted to make that clarification. As I stepped down, I did not rerun. I am retiring. I'm just a very busy mother right now and have a lot going on that's wonderful, wonderful in my life. And so I wanted to continue with that. But, I've always tried to be independent. I agree with people, but that doesn't mean that somebody's buying me out. I like my city, and I want it to stay that way. So with that, I would like to, if there's no other comments, go to our consent calendar, and then we will pulling item number 7 for a separate discussion. Is that what you wanted to pull? Councilmember Sotelo. Okay. Well, motion is in order for the consent. I see hands going up all over.
Will be
Yes.
all items other than item 7.
Other than item 7, I'd like to entertain a motion for the consent.
I move.
Motion is second. Second by Sykes.
Second.
Motion. Okay, well, we're changing. for the city clerk there. Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Now we will go to item number 7, which is the finance. Now, let me clarify from my seat where this kind of happened. This wasn't rushed. It had been agendized several months in closed session, and it actually stemmed from a clarification on some language. I understood that there was only 2 things, and we were actually looking at, which is the severance and the language clarification. So what I understand was in the paper was not accurate. And I know a lot of people read the paper, and we trust the paper. But being a council member for almost 13 years or whatever, I just take it with a grain of salt, because sometimes I'll say something and then they'll print something. I didn't say that, other than George, because he's pretty accurate, his paper. So I appreciate that. So talk to George. With that, those are the 2 items that we have, and I don't know if Mr. City Manager, you'd like to do a brief report and explain that. And you know what, also too, I wanted to kind of clarify something that was in the air earlier, and people get up there and say, I hope you're listening and everything, and we are. I mean, we're listening, but sometimes you guys don't have like all the details of things, and it's not that we're not trying to be transparent. I mean, we give you, but there's lawsuits, and we want to protect our city from further lawsuits. So certain things our city attorney says, no, we can't do that, and we have to listen to the advice of our city attorney. But something that was brought up about some lawsuit that was in the newspaper that involved Mr. Chung, those of you that maybe were around at the time, there was an investigation on then Councilmember Hernandez, and there were 9 independent witnesses to his abuse and aggression towards people. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you this story right now because I'm going out, and I want you to know I love this city, but I will swear I was 8 months pregnant, and he yelled at me, and it was awful. And I said that in a testimony, and I just want the reason there. Somebody had asked the question, why are we supporting him? Why did we take him into consideration? Because if you knew the truth and knew what was really going on, this is a good person, and I did nothing but what I felt was most professional to do. And I guess I just want everybody to understand that sometimes there's things that are unfair to people, and I just don't feel like somebody deserves to be treated unfairly, and that's all I'm saying. So with that, I mean, we have item 7, and again, it stemmed for me from some clarification, and so with that, I see Councilmember Sotelo wanting to make a comment, and then we'll kind of go over this whole and how it took place. Thank you.
All right. The people spoke, and you're right, I didn't get elected. I've been here for almost 27 years with the city public and trying to do different commissions, 2 different times. I coached, I did a lot of things in our community, and I don't think I did wrong. But the vote, people had said their word. And I just want to thank everybody for everything they've given me and the chance to live the dream and be here. But as you guys all know, when Chris Chung went for city manager. I didn't vote for Chris, our city manager. And he has proven to me, we lost our chief of police, our fire captain. We've lost our finance director. He's come back and he's done so much for our cities. Last year was the first year that we had a balanced budget. We had more revenue than we had, well, the money went out. He's done a great job. And I think he will continue to do a great job. And with that, what I'd like to ask you people, and I'd like to make a motion, that we table item number 7 and let the new council come in and let them vote on it. And we don't need to discuss it anymore. I just like to table it and let our new council take over next month, and good luck to them.
Councilmember Sykes.
So I don't have to do any long speeches. I second that motion.
Real quick, I don't know if we wanted a staff report or if the city manager wanted to say anything. You're looking at me like...
Well, I just want to say I thank the city council for their consideration. I appreciate the fact that you provided an evaluation for me, and this is what stemmed from that. The council graciously offered to provide me with certain incentives, or not incentives, but provisions. And as you know, that, in hearing people and talking to people even prior to this meeting, and like I said prior to this, I was willing to give up the severance. I was willing to give up the increase in salary, and I was willing to give up the term of the extension of a one-year term. So there wasn't a contract extension. I guess what I was looking for more is clarification within the existing language. And in that existing language, it provides for the fact is that due to severance, I am provided with severance pay. And within there, we tried to clarify exactly what that included, because it included a vague language and talked about severance and fringe benefits. And we further defined what those fringe benefits are. And it's pretty much exactly what I'm entitled to already. The other thing is the clarification of the non-contract or non-extension is a termination. In the existing contract, it is arguable already that way already, and I asked for that clarification within the council. I understand, and as I've proven, I believe, is that I do want to listen to the council majority. I do want to listen to the new council as well. And I have taken off the table what I believe was some of their major concerns is the severance pay, the extension, the one-year extension, and even the salary. And there was a misquote in the newspaper that I was entitled to, that I slipped in CPI. That's not the case. CPI increases can only be approved by the city council, and that isn't even a change in this existing contract. But I will listen to this council and abide by it. That's what I'm all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments?
Just to ramble on a little bit, one comment that was made in the oral part of the meeting was what I was referring to with our forefathers, and that our government was set up to be slow. We have, the presidential, the House, the judicial, multiple elections spread out. The bottom line is our forefathers, meaning the guys who wrote the Constitution, had the full intentions of our government to move slow, and that when there are big changes, they need to occur over periods of time, 5, 10 years, generally speaking, that it's really the will of the people of what they want, and it's shown over time. And that's what I was referring to in the quote in the newspaper. And with regards to how I feel about Mr. Chung, we have lost a city manager recently, we've lost a police chief recently, a finance director recently. We only have, I believe, 2 directors left that have been around for any significant amount of time, that'd be being Shannon and Chris. And I'm just sensitive as I'm heading out the door here to, allow for a situation to where there's a brain drain. I mean, we have new council members, and this is a complicated job, and there's a lot of complicated things that go along with it. And that gentleman there has 15 years, how many years you got? 15 years between being director of the CDC and now being the city manager. And I can't in good conscience leave, at least not making the point that he's an asset to this community, and we don't have very many other people to pull from. So at minimum, just work with him. I just recommend to the new council, work with him and take advantage of that knowledge, and just don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, is basically what I'm getting to.
Okay, we don't allow conversation. If you guys want to talk after, well, it's not legal for us to do.
It's my opinion. It's just my opinion.
You know,
it's just my opinion. So that being said, you know, I am fully am confident in the new council making good decisions on behalf of the city. I just know that this job is a big one, and there's a lot of pressures, and you know, there's politicians and there's leaders. Politicians make you know, the popular decision, and leaders make the tough ones. And so it's just one of those things where this job is not easy, and you got to make tough decisions, and ones where people think you're horrible. And you know, we're privy to facts, and you're, you know, more facts than you folks are. So we just do the best we can up here, and I wish you guys the best of luck. And at this point, I'm for tabling this item also. Thank you.
okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our next item on the agenda is our public hearing, item number 11. This matter is set for public hearing, and it is for the adoption of the Building Standards Codes 2013 edition of California Building Code and the 2013 California Fire Codes and other various codes. City Clerk, please verify proper legal notice has been given.
Yes, that's verified.
Thank you. And at this time, I shall open the public hearing of West Covina codes. I know people are having problems hearing. I know we have, yeah, why don't we take just a quick break? Mr. City Attorney, is that appropriate? So people can exit without.
That's fine.
And then we do have hearing devices. So if any of the audience, please, is it through the City Clerk? Or through Chris Freeland? Thank you. If you have a trouble hearing, thank you. We want to get started. It's 9 o'clock. Council members, City Attorney, we want to get started. We have a public hearing to handle. Thank you. At this time, we have item number 11, our public hearing, the California Building and California Fire Ordinance introduction. This matter is set for public hearing. It's for the adoption of the Building Standards Codes 2013 edition of the California Building Code and 2013 Fire Code and other various codes. Will City Clerk please verify that the proper legal notice has been given?
Yes, that's verified.
Thank you so much. And at this time, I shall open the public hearing on the West Covina Codes and introduction. And there will first be the presentation of our staff report, and then we shall hear the comments from the public. Mr. City Manager, who will present the staff report?
Shan Yatsi will present the staff report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Every 3 years, the State of California adopts updated building and fire code standards. A public hearing is required for the city to adopt any amendments to those standards as published by the State of California. This proposed ordinance tonight will carry over previous building and fire code amendments, such as administrative rules, fire sprinkler requirements, requirements for fireproof roofing, and requirements for swimming pool fencing for safety. There's only one significant change proposed this year. That would be an amendment that would require permits for multiple storage sheds when they're less than 6 feet apart. The current code does not require permit approvals for sheds less than 120 square feet. In some instances, residents, property owners have tried to avoid the code requirements by stacking multiple small sheds next to each other. The current code wording does not allow building and planning to regulate this when we have complaints from adjoining neighbors. And with this, staff recommends the introduction of the ordinance, and I'll ask if there's any questions.
Any questions of staff by council? Seeing none. Madam City Clerk, have you received any written protests or objections or comments concerning the West Covina Building Standard Code 2013 edition of the California Building Code 2013 and Fire Code and other various codes?
No written comments or protests have been received.
Thank you so much. And the following written comments we haven't got any, so we have any oral communication comments. I do not have any cards at this time, so no one running up to the dais to speak, so I shall now close the public portion of this hearing and ask for any city council discussion or motion is in order.
Second.
Okay, motion is in order to waive further reading of the ordinance and to introduce a roll call vote. Madam City Clerk.
Okay, to introduce the proposed ordinance, McIntyre?
Aye.
Roll call vote. Sotelo?
Aye.
Sykes?
Aye.
Sanderson?
Aye. And Mr. City Attorney, there's no further on this, and it looks like we are concluded with item number 11. Is that correct? Thank you. And at this time, we have our successor agency. I will recess this City Council meeting at 8:56, and we have a separate agenda for our agency, which is the yellow sheet. We have, roll call, please.
Chairman Sanderson?
Here.
Board Member McIntyre?
Here.
Board Member Sotelo?
Here.
Board Member Sykes?
Here.
And the record will reflect that Vice Chairman Herford is not here tonight.
Thank you so much. Any changes to the agenda, Mr. City Manager?
No changes to the agenda tonight?
Thank you so much. We do have our consent calendar, and a motion is in order unless any items need to be discussed or pulled.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. And at this time, motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 at 8:57. We will continue with our meeting of the City Council and Mayor Councilmember reports. We have Councilmember Frederick Sykes, the resolution supporting the anti-bullying efforts in our community and schools. Mr. Sykes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As previously stated, this item came to my attention just simply to try and get us to prepare and be ready to assist in any way that we can as a city in order to stop and defer people from killing themselves. I mean, that's what has come to with this bullying, and that's the main reason why I brought this forward, is to do what we can to assist the schools, churches, and other professionals in our community that are trying to deal with bullying. I would like to commend staff for putting this report together and helping us get in a better place. We do have our liaison meeting that's coming up with the schools, and I just think that we should be ready to help in any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A motion is in order.
Motion for the resolution.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next on our agenda, we have no AB 123 conference reports, and at this time, City Council requests for reports or studies or City Council member comments. If not, a motion is ordered for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming.